Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Kevysie Fate Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Davis. I am a comic creator, author, entrepreneur. I wear a lot of hats, and I've been told I'm a go-giver at times, and I occasionally get yelled at for not sleeping. But it's a part of the job of being creative. So today, we have a special guest. He's a returning guest, actually, and Mr. Sebastion Piccione. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well.
Man, dude, last time we talked, you was with Travis talking about
Mhm.
Summit and Cobalt Cricket. Today it's just you all alone with me in my world. But first off,
Yeah.
what have you been up to since the last time we talked, brother? And what can you tease us with now?
All right. Well, Summit's doing quite well. We've had every launch that we've done has been a success.
Let's go.
Pinnacle is currently at the printer.
Oh,
We've had
nice.
six, might be more at this point. We had six successful launches on Kickstarter.
Heck
And
yeah.
and I was very afraid that I was going to be the first one to fail. I was so worried. I like 2 days before, or maybe even the day before it went live. I sat down with Travis at a Dunkin' Donuts because that's where you have to go to talk to Travis. Our editor in chief, Devin Arscott, had told me, you know what? I was like, what do I set my goal for Kickstarter? And he's like, do 2,500. You can do that. The closer it got, I'm watching these other ones, like some of them, like boom, within a day, 2 days. Some of them, a couple, struggled a little harder, like 3 days, 4 days. Nothing took terribly long. But I kept thinking, I'm like, you know what? Mine is going to be the one. I'm going to be the first failure, and I can't live with that. So I told Travis, I'm like, I think I'm going to cut it to 2,000 because I don't know if I can make the 2005, and I'd rather make it and get it done than miss it by, because I shot too high. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a legitimate fear. You don't know. Yours might not. And then the day that I launched it, I had come home from work. We live on Florida's East Coast. We were going to drive to Florida's West Coast because we were going to go see Florence and the Machine in concert. So
Oh, nice. Awesome.
at 1:10, I pushed launch and then left my house. I got in the car and I
Ooh,
got my wife's car and we drove what should have been a 2.5 hour drive, but because Florida traffic exists, it ended up being a 4 hour drive.
I've been in that traffic, so I understand.
We got to the theater. Across from the stadium was a restaurant. We stopped in to eat. It is now 4:25. I sit my phone down. It's been in my pocket for this whole drive. My phone has blown up with just people congratulating me on reaching my goal. I met my
That's
goal in 4 hours, which
man.
it's at the moment it
Wow.
is the record for Kickstarter, and occasionally on shows like this or just other friends or people that are that do that, like, what's your secret? What did you do to get funded that fast? I'm like, I don't know. I was in the car. I'm like, apparently the best thing I can do is just go away. Like a watched pot
Yeah.
never boils. A watched campaign creeps a little higher. But if you get in the car and try and avoid, constant road work and accidents and the nightmare that is I-4, apparently while you're
Oof.
doing that, your Kickstarter will kickstart.
I might need to try to do that when I launch my next comic. I just
You know,
when I press launch, I just go on a 4 hour drive or four hour
right.
ride somewhere and not think about it. See if that works for me.
I have 10 days left because I thought I was clever. I picked my birthday for the last day because
Let's
I
go.
thought for sure that what I was going to be doing, it ends on 8 o'clock on May 28th, or 8:30. I don't even know what the hell I picked. But I thought for sure that what you were going to see was like 3 weeks of me on Facebook going, please, all I want for
Yeah.
my birthday is this book to get published. You don't have to pledge $1. I don't care. Just somebody, help me get there. And then I was 100% funded in 4 hours. At the end of the day, when I went to sleep in my hotel in Tampa, I was at 150% funded. And then
Wow.
literally as of like 20 minutes ago, I got a text from my brother saying, I pushed you over the 5K mark. I was supposed to have a goal of 2,500. I didn't think I'd make it. And right
Now you
now
got more than both.
I am at $5,037 with 10 days to go on this beautiful blue bug boy.
Cobalt Cricket. Let's go. Cobalt Cricket.
and it's baffling.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Nothing prepared me for. Now I'm like, oh shit! Now I got to deliver. This book better not suck.
But yeah, Cobalt Cricket, dude. I'm a huge fan of those type of characters in
Well,
superhero.
you and me
Even
both.
I was like as a Spider-Man fan, I grew to love Ant-Man, Blue Beetle. I just really
Right.
gravitate towards uh, even the villains that are animals like King Shark or
Right.
Gorilla Grodd.
Like,
Don't ask me why I like them so much. I just can't really give you a straight answer.
well, what's funny is sometimes I have to remind myself not every character I make, hero or villain, has to be some kind of like superhero, some kind of insect or animal base.
Yeah.
Because mostly what I do, like, is I'll look up things from certain areas. Like even from my own stuff, my Sunday night comics company that I have, I had just moved to Florida, and I thought, all right, I'll make superheroes that live in Florida. And I was like, what does Florida have? And I'm a New Yorker who's lived in Florida for like, a week. So I'm like, they get hurricanes. So I made my superhero is Cat 5, Category 5. She has hurricane powers. I'm like, what does Florida have for like villains? I'm like, we got alligators. We have sharks. I'm like, yeah, there's been a lot of sharks. So I looked up specifically what sharks are in Florida. And my friend Mikey, who I've been friends with since the 90s. We worked at a comic store together, and he draws, and he knows me, and that's always what works best, is when people already know. I don't have to explain the weirdness in my head. They know. So I looked it up, and there's a type of shark that's very aggressive and very prevalent in Florida, is a bull shark. I'm like, so I'm thinking, he goes, you want like a shark man, like King Shark, and I'm like, yes. He goes, but because you want him to have horns. And I'm like, yes. He goes, ring through the nose? I'm like, oh, you know me. So the villain for Cat 5 is called the Bull Shark, and he's this big shark man with longhorn steer horns coming out of his head and that ring in his nose. And when people are like, what made you come up? I'm like, well, it made sense for the area. There's bull sharks in Florida, so I went with the bull shark. And because they're
Yeah.
called bull shark, I couldn't resist. And Mikey knew, he drew it like right off the bat. He's like, because you're a moron, this is what you want. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I want. And then Mikey liked drawing him, so it worked. But same thing, like one of the villains that Cobalt Cricket will fight in his first issue, since he's also in Florida, he's an environmental science major. So what made sense as a villain for him is in Florida we do have lionfish, but they're not native. They are an invasive species. And when you're scuba diving, it doesn't matter if it's in season or whatnot. You're always permitted and encouraged to spearfish the lionfish because they're an invasive species. So I have this guy who, throughout the book,
Uh,
I have,
oh
I
God.
have a lot of weird scientists in my city of Carlsbad for some reason, and one it wasn't the plan, and then it became the reality. So one scientist turns a guy
Gotcha.
into a lion man, and another scientist decides that makes no sense for Florida, and alters him further to make him into a lionfish man. So the lionfish is one of the main villains for this issue, and
Wow.
he looks like an actual lion man, but he has those venomous quill fins that lionfish have, and he can breathe in the water or on land like a lion and a fish. And
Dude, that's so freaking cool.
it seemed like a good idea at the time. And again, like Gambit, Elias Gambit Melendez, the artist and co-creator of Cobalt Cricket, he knows me, and he knows exactly. Like, I would love to say that at some point, like one of the things I can't add as an add-on or a stretch goal is I can't say, hey, we're gonna make a prints out of all the different um character designs we went through to settle on anything. Because no matter how insane or ridiculous a concept I throw at Gambit, he nails it the first time, partially because he's just that good an artist, but partially because he knows me and he knows he goes, so you want this?
The best. That'd be the best type of people to work with.
I drew a very crude sketch of the Cobalt Cricket when we started on this,
Uh,
and Gambit, it's like a superpower. He somehow drew exactly the same picture I drew, but 4 million times better. and Gambit was work for hire. But then he sent me that sketch, and I said, "No, you are a co-creator. This is officially no longer just my creation." He does the he does the art, he does the colors, um, he does the inks. So he'll make a lot of decisions that people are like, "Oh, that's cool. How'd you come up with that?" I'm like, "Oh, I just came up with this much of it." Then Gambit did the rest. You know,
Dude,
and yeah, there's our
these covers though. Oh my God.
the Spider-Man homage is the Kickstarter exclusive. There will be a slightly different version of that available at the local comic store, which people really want. They can order it, and they'll ship them out. But that is drawn by Derek Donovan, who has drawn everything from the Legion of Superheroes to Green Arrow to Rogue and
Holy smokes.
Young Blood and Jubilee, and it is colored by Laura Martin, who has colored everything from the JLA to the Astonishing X-Men to she did a lot for Wildstorm. She did Planetary, and she did The Authority, and the two of them are actually friends of mine. So they were more than happy to do these.
That's the DC comic, right?
Yeah,
Okay, because I looked at the cover and I'm like, who are these people? I'm not even really that interested to read it, if I'm being honest. I just read like the backstory, like the synopsis of the Authority. I'm just like, oh, okay,
The
okay.
Authority was such a good book, though. Especially
Oh, it is. Okay,
the
I'm a read it since you say it's good. Then.
the first two arcs. After that,
Get back on topic for a second. Tell us a bit more. Who is Cobalt Cricket, and also how many pages is this book?
it's 30 pages of story. We're gonna have 32 pages of book, just because each page is 4 sides, so it works out like that.
Nice.
Now that we've met our second stretch goal, I'm thinking our third stretch goal may be to add one of those extra pages as like some of Gambit's sketches and or we've already gotten some fan art, which is baffling to me. Like
Let's go. Fan
in
art. I love fan art.
in my head, I'm like, you can't make fan art of my book because my book is fan art. it's 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 like an homage and love story, love letter to the entire 60s, 70s, and 80s comics. So it's weird
Yes.
that other people have been like, I was inspired today to draw the Cobalt Cricket off of the internet, and I was like, that's crazy. Um, but Cobalt Cricket is his name is Glenn Fielding. Uh, a Glen and a field are both places you can find crickets. I always liked in the 60s and 70s, like when you'd have a character like, oh, here's Johnny Thunder, and his ability is he has like a genie that looks like lightning. And I'm like, and his name is Thunder. Tee hee hee. So I've always liked that kind of vibe. So that's what I went with for this. But Glenn Fielding, in that very Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Daredevil origin, he's a bicycle messenger because he's all about the environment. And he's delivering messages one day and packages, and a truck goes by, and a large metal drum filled with medical waste involving our summit has like powered people have always existed, but there was a big bang, if you will, called A-Day, where a giant alien is fought over the planet, and it's killed. Alien ichor splatters down all over the Earth, and that alien DNA is what alters certain people and produces powers. And there are scientists who are studying it, some licensed, some not. And one such scientist decides to break the rules about testing it on people, and that's how you get lionfish. But when she realizes it's not working the way that she wanted it to work, she tries to get rid of some of it, or at least to take it away from like her everyday job so nobody can find it. But one of those canisters falls off the truck, hits Glenn Fielding, breaks open, and leaves him covered in this goo. In Florida doesn't really have a lot of fields in its more urban areas. It has a lot of undeveloped lots, just lots big, just big enough that you could put one house on it or one building. So he gets left in one of those lots with this goo on him, and living in this lot are an abundance of crickets, and the alien concoction kind of merges his DNA with the DNA of some of those crickets. So at this point, he's kind of like 80% human DNA, 15% cricket DNA, and like 5% weird alien mix. And the result of that gives him cricket abilities. He grows these wings that he can kind of retract out of his back. They vibrate and make his chirp. He doesn't really get a lot of flight. Sometimes they can give him a boost on his jumping. But he, with the help of a friend of his who's a tech major and a local musician, they develop an amplifying microphone that goes underneath his cloak, and it is hooked up to the speakers in his gloves. These little here's one of his gloves. There you go. There's a speaker on the edge of his glove.
Oh,
And
nice.
through that, he's able to augment this. Instead of just being a 6-foot guy who makes a louder cricket chirp, he can augment it through that amplifier microphone speaker system and use it as kind of like a sonic blast.
Ooh, fancy. Nice. And who is this creepy dude?
This creepy dude. And again, here's where Gambit takes his own initiative.
Yeah.
I sent him a very crude sketch of I wanted the uneven crystals on his face. This guy is called Saltpeter. Saltpeter is a it's a potassium not sodium, but potassium crystal that is used. It is the only non-combustive ingredient in gunpowder. Peter gets turned into this crystal form. He can turn back, but it hurts.
Oh,
And
really? Jesus.
I refer to him as he is Saltpeter, the crystalline criminal, and he does mostly when you see him in the book, he's doing some type of robberies, and the Cobalt Cricket stops him. There's more to that we're going to get into. Like, eventually, the Cobalt Cricket is going to start to ask, who the hell keeps bailing him out? And why is he doing all of these, like, seemingly random robberies? And there's a whole connection to some organizations I hope to introduce, down the line. And because I called him the crystalline criminal, when Gambit drew him, he said, I took my inspiration from old pictures of real-life gangster Lucky Luciano. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. And my favorite change that Gambit made is, if you look, I had described him as wearing just like a cheap suit and even cheaper shoes. Gambit leaned into the the gangster, or at least wannabe gangster aspect, gave him the pinstripes in his suit, and said, no, I'm not giving him cheap brown scuffed up shoes. I'm giving him a nice pair of saddle shoes. And it's funny how a little thing like pinstripes and nice saddle shoes can really help you as a writer get a feel for the character more and to kind of bring him more to life. And I've done a handful of books and a handful of different things, and I've worked with a lot of people, but Team Cricket, as I like to call the three of us, is the most true collaboration I've ever done. I'm the writer, and most of the stuff falls out of my head. Gambit does the pencils, inks, and colors, And Jerome Gagnon, our Canadian hero, is he's our letterer. He does the letters. He created the Cobalt Cricket logo. He's done a lot of designs. He does the cover dress for most of our books. But Jerome, in working on this book, just as guilty as Gambit and I for some of this nonsense. He will pitch things. He likes pitching villains. Um, he'll come up with little suggestions, little tweaks. Even the stylized way he did the logo, everything is like a collaborative effort. Even to the point where some of the greatest stuff happens. Like I won't be online for a couple days because maybe I've gone to yet another concert with my wife, and I will come back and in our team cricket group chat, the two of them have just gone to town and riffed off each other and come up with everything from just an image we could use as a meme to promote things, to logos. I don't like doing research. I'd rather make shit up than do research and get something wrong. So
Yeah.
we have our city of Carl's Bay, which is named after the late Carl Moline, comic artist, worked for DC, Image, Dark Horse, Marvel, and a friend of mine in Gambit's. So when he passed, I used to do some stuff with him, and we had plans to do a lot more. So instead, I named my city after him, and he can't work with me on this, but he's with me in Gambit, in kind of everything we do. So I made up this city, and I just populate it with things. I have an Italian Vietnamese fusion restaurant called Forget About It, and and
Forget about it. Yeah.
and the two of them will just come up with, hey, let's design a logo for this, or let's design postcards we can use as stretch goals, and they just come up with some great stuff. It's a lot of fun working on this book, and I hope that fun comes through to anybody who reads this. I read a thing today about my 6-page story in Pinnacle, the introduction to the Summit universe,
Hmm.
but it was also serious, and this kind of made me nuts. It was like, I think it needs to pick whether it's going to be funny or it's going to be serious, and I was like, nobody tells Spider-Man he has to pick. Spider-Man comics are very serious, and he is also very funny. Um, you know, and one of the things I'm trying to do is walk that line. I don't want Deadpool. I don't want a book that can't take itself seriously at all. I want consequences. I want whatever, but I also want, it's a comic book. The whole adventure is about a man who dresses like a bright blue cricket. This is what traditional comic book characters do: is they wear these outlandish outfits and they do serious stuff while quipping one-liners, and that's what I'm going for. Is I'm not going to choose between serious and funny. I think you can have both. And one of the first pages you looked at when you were scrolling through this featured another villain called Sandtrap, using that old Marvel hyperbolic description. I refer to him as Sandtrap, the golf course that walked like a man. And
Oh my God.
he's a very angry Sandman. I told Gambit, I was like, this guy was a really douchey white rich guy who played golf and was kind of an asshole. And Gambit captured it. You look at his face; he looks like he's some kind of douchebag. And Gambit was the one I said, put him in like a golf shirt. Gambit went with that hot pink and said, this seemed like the most arrogant thing I could do. And I'm like, yeah, it's perfect.
I'm like,
Uh,
for the record, he's on point because if you watch a lot of movies, a lot of the arrogant a-holes do wear those type of shirts,
they
especially in
do.
golf.
This is
So
that's.
it works.
I'm old. The bully antagonist in like every '80s movie was always in like the bright pink
Yeah.
collared shirt.
Oh my God. I've seen the 80s movies, I've seen the 70s, I've seen the 90s movies, I've seen all the old school movies, so I know exactly
you
what
know,
you're talking about.
he would have he
So
would have
yeah.
been, if this was an '80s movie, he would have been played by a young James Spader or a young Robert Downey Jr.
Oh,
doing their best, arrogant yuppie trash kind of thing.
my, I definitely can definitely Robert Downey Jr. in that. Most definitely. If this gets made into a movie, I hope you get to hire Robert to play this character
You
because
know,
he loves. I mean, he's really good at playing these type of characters. I'm actually excited to see him play Doom. So I'm actually very interested to see how he plays Doom. But I could definitely see Robert Downey Jr. playing your character. Wait, was it Sandtrap?
Sandtrap, the golf
Sandtrap.
course that walks like a
Okay,
man.
so yeah, that's clever. That is very clever.
And that's Glenn and his friend Jeremy who designed the speaker the speaker gloves and the amplifying mic underneath his cloak. So that's the guy.
Nice,
He's a local musician, and he's a tech major. They both go to Carls Bay University. And I
nice.
just decided, I was like, I need someone who's going to make this speaker set. So I want someone who's good with tech, but also might know their way around, like, speakers, microphones, and so I'm like, all right. So he's a tech major, but he performs at night in like local bands, and he works in a guitar shop in the city. And yeah, that's Glenn's confidant. He doesn't want to tell his uncle. He lives with his uncle Dale, who's a park ranger. Um, and again, see, Glen Fielding, Glen and Field, both places where you can find crickets. Dale Field, oh, what a shock. That's also places where you can find crickets. So I went with a
Oh,
theme.
we got some Cobalt Cricket swagger too over here
Oh
too.
yeah,
You can read
that's
while you looking fresh.
that's
Nice.
that's been a very popular that shirt and that exclusive cover and exclusive shirt combo has been one of the very popular tiers. That cool swag.
And we can only get this on Kickstarter, right?
Right.
Beautiful. That's freaking beautiful. Oh, a retail package for those comic
Oh yeah.
strips. If you want to, you can buy copies of the comic here on Kickstarter, guys. Not well, even a poster. Jesus, awesome.
Yeah, we get
Poster, bookmarks.
yeah, you get a bunch of the books with the different covers. You get some bookmarks to just kind of put on your counter and whatever. I asked a bunch of comic stores about like what kind of free giveaway stuff works for them, and a
Hmm.
lot of them had different opinions on pins or stickers or whatnot. But they said bookmarks always seem to go. That seemed to be a common thing. So
Really?
we went with
Wow.
bookmarks, and then I just thought, why not Cobalt Cricket logo, the Summit logo, and it says on sale here, and they can put it in their window, put it on a countertop, or use it as a coaster, whatever makes them happy, I guess.
Hmm. I might actually start getting to some making some bookmarks too. That's interesting.
One of our stretch goals was a bookmark. One of the other books going at the moment is from Summit is uh, called Wayfarer, and it's by uh, Nate and Stan Yak have Wayfarer, which is a 4-issue miniseries. Basically, it's like the Odyssey in outer space, um, and we did a stretch goal together where if you pledge for both books, you get this bookmark. And I wrote one side, he wrote it. So they're basically just strips, and they're that sticker that you scrolled past, that long picture of Cobalt Cricket.
Okay,
Um, that
got
is
you.
by Ignacio D'Amelio. He's one of our artists, and
Hmm.
the same guy. He does this very animated series looking style, and he also has a very good
Nice.
Chibi and Scotty Young style. And he did these
Yo.
bookmarks for that, where I wrote one side, Nate wrote another, and by bizarre coincidence, since we have similar senses of humor, it actually becomes like a 2-panel story. You've got one with just the Cobalt Cricket floating around in space, and the hero from Wayfarer is going in space. No one can hear you chirp, and then the next panel is the other side is he's now picked up the Cobalt Cricket, who's all banged up, and Cobalt Cricket's like you hit me, and he's like I'm sorry. He's like you turned on the windshield wipers, and he's like you're not even the biggest bug I've had to scrape off this window. So so we've got just kind of him coming up on him, and then him rescuing him after he crashes into him. And they're
Wow.
really cool looking bookmarks, and I really like Ignacio's style. He does a bunch of cooler things. And
Right.
yeah, the all blue cover is our sketch cover. One of our tiers was people
Right.
could
So
order
just
that
like,
that
yeah,
length cover
yeah.
with an original sketch. Gambit is going to draw on it before we send them out. So yeah, we've got all of these. Trench goes live, which is a book by our editor in chief, uh, Devin Arscott, and it's Trench is this like 1,000-year-old alien who's been asleep on Earth, and then wakes up
Ooh,
in what is modern California, and he becomes
yeah.
kind of like a supernatural private eye who's
Oh
dealing with
snap.
like weird cults and Cthulhu-esque threats in the backdrop of Tinseltown.
Wow.
There's, there's, there's a little
That
something for everybody
is.
in the Summit universe.
You actually have a trailer we can actually play right now. I'm watching this video right now. The Kickstarter's in the description of this video. Let's get this this book some more money because this book is freaking hilarious. I love this character so much. Just from dude, I freaking love these type of characters. Why they're fun, they're energetic, even as something simple as a cricket that I never thought I would ever see come to life. I was like, yeah, Summer is onto something, guys. I'm like, dude, yeah, Summer Comics with Cobalt Cricket, and this is just the first issue. We don't know what's gonna come out there, but Sebastian knows. Obviously, this is his creation.
Oh,
He's like,
you'd
what
like
can
to
you
think I know.
do?
Some of
But
the best stuff
what,
happens on accident.
that's true. That's the best part being creative. But he has made his funding, guys. Let's push it over some more. We got 10 days left. Let's get to 6,000 maybe. Like never say never. Like shoot. He never thought he'd get to 2,500. Let's see if we can get to 6,000
Right.
with this sucker, man. Um, this issue, what's next with Cobalt Cricket?
The first three issues are outlined, which is new for me. I didn't usually use outlines, and it both makes it easier and hard. I put them all together and I write down like a scene and put like this is 1 pages, this is 2 pages, this is another 1 page, 4 pages, whatever. Um, because he knows me so well, Gambit has said he goes if we really needed to, like I could draw the pages from these outlines without the full script, and you could put the words in later. So kind of like the Stan Lee method. The first issue is a full script, and that's what Gambit's working for. Second issue kind of picks up after here and involves these echo beasts, which are part of what's been built into Summit since it is a shared universe.
Right, yeah.
Is the idea that time, like we don't have to have a big crisis if we need to change something or add a character,
Yeah.
or somebody wants to leave the group and take their character with them. We have that alien that exploded is in a constant time loop with the hero who defeated it, and that does like soft resets, so nothing major that you have to worry about, but it gave us an excuse for if, let's say, you had an idea and you came to us and said, hey, I would like to bring this into, and maybe it was a book that you've already published, like, I already have one issue with this, but I'd really like my character to be in this world. We can say, okay, everything that happened to your character happened, and even though it wasn't written with us yet, we can just say, oh, it's always been part of this because it was part of that soft reset. I can pull Cobalt Cricket out, and we have guidelines and rules for how that would work and how much time I would have to give them. So if somebody was using him in like a storyline, it's not like, oh, you
Yeah.
need to change it. It's like, no, you have X amount of time to wrap that up and do whatever. But we can pull things in and out more organically because of these resets. And then within continuity, because of these resets, there are these things called echo beasts. And the echo beasts are people, creatures, and objects that during these resets didn't get fully, integrated. It's mostly they look like weird energy and they have varying degrees of memories of who and what they were, but they no longer
Yeah.
exist, so they're called echo beasts. And Cobalt Cricket's going to fight one of those. And then into the next issue, I have a couple of scientists, mad scientists, that are all kind of working in the background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One is the one who's responsible for Cobalt Cricket, and she's trying to keep, herself out of jail because she wasn't supposed to be using that alien DNA on human subjects. You could study it to see if its effects, but you're not allowed to use it on people. So the fact that she made lionfish and she made Cobalt Cricket is a problem. So she's trying to deal with it. And that she wasn't really a villain at first, but she is having her villain arc just from, like, when you tell a lie and then you have to tell another lie. This is one of those where she made this mistake with the best of intentions, but the more she tries to cover it up, the deeper she gets in, until finally these other two scientists, mad scientists, who are from an organization that I can never remember the name of. It's about the science. There are good scientists in it, there are bad scientists in it, and then there are scientists like the two that I have, Dr. Lilith Harrow and Dr. Walter Smith, and they really just do science for the science. They don't care if it, did it cure cancer? That's cool. We're just taking notes. Did it cause a new cancer? That's cool. We're just taking notes. They don't really care about the consequences, good or ill. They're just curious about what would happen. So they get involved and they realize that the alien ichor itself had a lot of effect on this one area of Florida. And they just kind of push things to see what'll happen. And they're going to be a major catalyst. I'm going to write with a bunch of mad scientists in the background. But they're such a great MacGuffins. Anything like, well, what would be the origin? Why would how this type of, weird effect happen? Mad scientists are great. Because
Gotta love them.
I don't have to kill myself coming up with some kind of pseudo logic. I can be like,
Yeah.
well, these two weirdos wanted to see what would happen, and then, like I said, there's the rationale. Eventually, Cobalt Cricket will start realizing, like, in almost every issue, there will be like a page or three of him stopping Saltpeter from doing these robberies, and sooner or later, he's going to start to wonder, what the hell is your motivation here? And who keeps bailing you out? And how is it that every other day you're back on the street doing the same damn thing and nobody's locked you away? And that will lead to, spoiler alert, I have a type of, not mafia, but like a very specific organized crime family happening within and they use him. Don't tell anybody, internet. This is just between you, me, and really they use him, like they use him. He's a distraction. If there's a crystal man committing crimes in the city, the police and any superheroes are going to see this crystal guy running down the street, punching through walls and holding large bags of money. Maybe while that's happening, some other less obvious seedy stuff is going down. And sooner or later, that will start to come to a head as more. I have some other heroes I want to introduce that are active in the city. I have a speedster named Heat Lightning, because that sounded very Florida. So she runs, but this is what cemented it for me in my head. You know that scene in Back to the Future where the car disappears into time and you just see the burning tire marks going down the road?
Yeah.
She leaves that effect when she runs, and she's
Heck yes.
she's not just lightning, she's Heat Lightning, so
Snap.
like a flash for Florida, and
Yeah.
that image I liked, and so did Gambit. So eventually I want to introduce her. This crime group is going to start to realize we can't just distract everybody with this one crystal guy anymore. We're going to have to get a little hands-on with some of these heroes, because they're bad for business.
Dude, this is freaking exciting. You're bringing the nerdness out of me right now, because this is freaking exciting.
Bringing the
But you
nerdness out
guys,
of me. Our inner
yeah,
nerds are speaking to each other.
right. It's like, you guys go back Cobalt Cricket. You will not be disappointed, man. It looks funny. It looks beautiful. I'm like, dude, if you're a nerd, buy this freaking book. Get this to 6,000 before the 10 days are up. But before we hop off on this thing, man, please show us your socials. Yes, every pun intended. What's your socials where we can follow you and keep up with you with your projects and everything? You going with Summit and Cobalt Cricket.
I'm on Instagram, but I'm old, so like most people over 50 on the internet, I'm usually on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram. Once you find me on one, you can usually track me down through the others. And
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
I I post a lot of stuff involving, Summit and Cobalt Cricket specifically, but Summit in general.
Yeah.
And then I just post a lot of nonsense.
Davis CEO, same tag as TikTok, and then Instagram is I am Kevin Davis Official, and my YouTube at Kevysie. And you can find Kevysie Fate on Spotify and anywhere you find podcasts. So you can watch this video and listen, and make sure you back the Kickstarter in the description of this video. Jesus, I had to say that in one breath. Jesus. But this has been a nerd episode of, as it's always been, of Kevysie Fate
Right.
Podcast. We will catch you guys on the flip side, and Sebastion will be back because he
Oh
has no
yeah.
choice but to come back because we're nerds. So, but we'll catch you guys next time. Deuces.